Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here on episode 56. Cannot believe it. We're so happy to be here. And today we will be talking about families and different family cultures around the world. Maybe even get into some interesting topics like expat relationships and where expats seem to be the happiest, as well as touching on the somewhat scandalous subject of polygamy. So it should be an exciting episode today. I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I got to bring in my expert on all things spreading the love, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. I thought you were about to say expert on all things polygamy.
I thought about it.
I was like, hey, save that for the main topic. You know what? I just like to spread a little love. What can I say? And another great place to spread a little love is on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. That's where I post episodes. I post songs of the pod. I post funny. I'm usually the one laughing.
I'd say they're funny. They make me laugh as well. Hopefully they make other people laugh. I had to stop
myself. I was like, I'm not trying. I don't want to overpromise these people. I post comments about things sometimes, and videos too. I've been pretty proud of some of our recent videos. They've been some good ones.
They've been great.
You don't like Twitter? Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. All the same things without my stupid comments. Or you can email us. Email us at the untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. I always do this. Email us at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. No the. And tell us your untranslatables, which are idioms, proverbs, sayings, expressions common in your family and your culture. And tell us why, and tell us what they are in English. And we like ones that tend to make no sense in English, and we try to figure them out. And if you give them send us some of those. I'll actually quiz Chad because he never checks the emails, so it's perfect. That's it. Or I guess you could
spread
also
a little love
and rate and review us. That'll be nice too. 5 stars, please, on iTunes and Stitcher. So I'm back. For the podcast listeners, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm back at work, and dare I say, it's a relief.
Feel good to be back in the routine?
I've never enjoyed so much structure in my life. I never enjoyed ironing and putting on a shirt so much, button-down shirt so much in my life. It was weird. It was oddly refreshing. You know, my last job I had, I hated it. So there was really at no point where I was excited to go to work. But this job, I don't really regret going. And I enjoy going sometimes, and I as you guys have noted, it was a pretty gluttonous break that I lived, so it's kind of nice to return to some structure. Although it was rough sometimes. A couple of questions when they come up. How was your Christmas? Did you go home to see your family? And I was like, no, I stayed here. Then there's this depressing. Oh.
Awkward silence in between.
I had fun. I had 4 Pop-Tarts in 2 days.
Yes, that's awesome. Living the dream right there. That's awesome.
But
that makes me happy though, Jared, that you're back at it, back in the routine.
Yeah, it felt good. Wasn't today your first day back?
It was. Yes, it was. It was a little rough waking up at 7 in the morning. I feel bad complaining because I know you get up so much earlier.
It's only I get up at 6:30. So.
Oh, all right. It's not. I don't feel as bad now.
No.
But yeah, it was
and
nice.
I get out of bed more at about 6:50, but my alarm goes off at 6:30.
Right. I don't know why we do that to ourselves. I'm the same way. I will always set so many alarms.
Okay,
I'm
going to
set one at the last time.
Mm-hmm. My actual routine is just stupid at this point. So what I do is I set an alarm at 6:05, and that wakes me up. But then I turn that off and immediately go back to sleep. And I have another alarm set for 6:30. That one is my final alarm. And sometimes I might go back to sleep after that. Sometimes I'll just sit in bed and scroll through my phone. But for some reason, I always end up, whether I fall back asleep. But when I fall back asleep that second time, I still have I'm still conscious enough to know hey, listen, you got a couple minutes where you can do this and you got to go. But I always find myself pushing the limits a little bit.
Okay.
And it's easier to do that too when I'm at a job like mine, which is not like yours, where I don't have like a set start time.
Oh, that is nice. I didn't realize you didn't have a set start time.
They expect us to be in like around a certain time. Like usually they expect us anywhere between like 7:30 and 8, which is where I tend to get in. Most people get in after that actually, and no one cares. So, but but I think once it starts turning to like 8:30, 9, they'd be like, where's Jared?
Right. I gotta tell you, man. You know how as we mentioned on our last episode, the Zwischen den Jahren. I really lost the concept of what day it was.
You're looking at. I choked.
You're right there, buddy.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I was gonna have to call. Sorry, I'm listening.
You're good.
Now.
You're good.
Tea went down the wrong pipe.
I actually taught that phrase to one of my Czech friends the other day. Down the wrong pipe.
Yeah, that's a little early.
It's a useful, right? Very useful phrase right there.
Yeah.
But anyways, you know how the concept of what day it is during winter break or holiday break is a big problem. Well, I was actually going to stay in Prague one more night with my parents and leave for Chomutov super early in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. But because I'm an idiot and I thought I thought the day I was coming back was a Wednesday, and it turns out it was a Thursday. Thankfully, my parents convinced me to actually come back Wednesday night on the bus, which I'll tell you about that in a minute because that was an experience, coming back on the last bus to Chomutov. But before I get to that...
Sounds like a book.
it was interesting. But I realized this morning when I went to school, I was like, if I would have waited and caught the train, I would have literally been 15, 20 minutes late for my first class. And classes here in the Czech Republic only last 45 minutes.
So your goal was to make it there in time that morning?
No, see what I thought, because I thought I was going back on a Wednesday and not a Thursday, I wouldn't have had to teach until 8:50. The train I was going to take would have gotten me in at 7:45. But Thursdays I teach at 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if it was karma or the universe looking out for me or just my parents being worried that I would have been late.
I'm not judging. I'm on your parents' side. Either of those seem like you're cutting it way too close.
Right. Well,
I mean, even if there was the 8:50 class, that still seems pretty close.
Right. Well, I mean, it's only a 10-minute walk to the train station from my apartment, and then a 10-minute walk to school.
That's true.
I could have made it on time, but if there would have been any delays, and it has been snowing here quite a bit.
That's very unlike you.
Yeah. Usually I'm like, you know me, you've traveled with me. I like to be places super early.
But miss your mom and dad.
Right. It was actually funny, dude. When we were in Vienna, we wanted to get to the train station early, and our cab driver, we know him because we've stayed at this apartment and they have the same taxi driver, so he kind of knows us and we know him. Super friendly dude, and he was I'm pretty sure he's from, I don't know if he's from Russia or Ukraine, but he's from some former Soviet country, and he was laughing because we told him what time our train was leaving, and he was like, "Oh, you're getting there too early." He's like, and then he made some comment about how, "Oh, you're like a Soviet soldier just getting somewhere super early just to get there to say you're there and then just wait or something," which I thought was really funny. But anyways, back to the bus. So I went on the bus at 9 o'clock, got to Chomutov at 11:10. First of all, it was raining and sleeting during the day on Wednesday, and I thought, how is this bus going to even be able to make it there? Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing about it, dude, is I was one of the last people on the bus to Chomutov, and it feels really weird being on the last bus to your town and one of maybe 4 or 5 people left on the bus.
And walking through and looking at everyone.
Right. It was just really weird. And
what was the clientele like for the last bus to Chomutov?
I was
last
probably
bus to Chomutov.
I was probably the youngest person there.
Okay.
By at least 5 to 10 years.
How many
I would
times
guess.
were you offered illicit drugs? No, I'm kidding. That sounds like some.
Thankfully, no times.
I think I've just lived in cities like Philadelphia and Detroit and for too long. I've never lived in Detroit, but so how was what were you uneasy on the actual ride because the weather was so inclement?
Yeah, a little bit. And the thing I was wondering is if there would have, as you know me, I tend to worry, and I was
clearly
like,
not about being late for work.
I guess not, but I mean, I guess the thing I was worried about is, if something were to happen, I don't even know what they would have done, right? I don't know what the protocol is.
They probably just send another bus or something, or send a tow truck.
Yeah, but probably the closest bus would be Prague, and that'd be at least depending on where you are, it could be anywhere from an hour, hour and a half. But
Well,
it
first
was
of all,
an
I'm sure they
interesting
have a
experience.
protocol, and two, let's hope that doesn't come to
Right.
that, or it didn't come to that.
Oh,
I guess.
exactly. But yeah, but it was nice, man. And the whole reason why I came up with the idea of family relationships today for our episode was, well, one, because I was very happy to spend time with my family, but I also noticed some interesting things while we were traveling. And the thing that I noticed, and I'll talk about it a little bit more as we get into the actual topic, but just how rude some people are to elderly people here. And it's not only the Czech Republic, I think it's just big city living in general. People are just kind of like, I'm in a hurry, you're in my way, get the hell out of my way.
Yeah. I think, well, that's definitely something I learned, like, when we start talking about this topic. This topic is really more about, like, ageism. every time I typed in, like, anything about the elderly, it's all about, like, ageism and stuff. And you know, I guess because I'm an ageist, I never really thought about that. But, and even that, everyone being rude, I never even thought about that until you just said that. But, like, I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't think I'm one of those people, but I could definitely understand someone's impulse to just kind of like disregard them because you think they're either somehow out of it or somehow unaware, somehow slowing things down. So I get that. I mean, you know, I don't support it, but I get it.
Right. Yeah, it's just a different culture when you're in a city. We didn't feel nearly as rushed while we were here in Chomutov at all whatsoever.
Well, there's less tourists gumming up the mucks, you know?
Exactly, 100%. And honestly, man, by the end of our trip, I love Vienna to death. But we were on Kärntnerstraße, which, as you know, is one of the main shopping streets in Vienna. I mean, it's tourist galore. And I just was getting sick of the crowds. I was just, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it's just too much sometimes.
Around
so overwhelming.
Stephansdom, especially, too, it could be so packed that you have to, like, elbow people out of the way. I mean, not literally elbow, but you have to kind of, like, push your way through.
Right.
And, it can get annoying, especially if you're looking for a relaxing vacation.
Right. And especially if you're a Midwesterner, you don't want to be walking by everybody saying, "Oh." Exactly. Exactly.
Did I tell you, Laura mentioned that to me the other day, that Michigan people always do that. And I'm like, am I the only one that didn't know this?
No, it's true, though. I've even told some of my students, and I shared a meme on my Facebook page about, like, one of the most Midwestern things to ever say is, like, "Oh, I'm just going to sneak right past you and grab the ranch." I have literally heard that phrase at least 20 times. Yeah, that's such a Midwestern condiment.
And put it out of my pizza or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't do that, but a lot of people do that.
A lot of people do.
Is that a Michigan thing?
I don't know if I would think it would be probably safer to say it's a Midwestern thing.
Okay, well, yeah,
because I don't think it's just Michigan.
Yeah, I
but
guess
it's definitely a Michigan thing as well.
Right.
For
yeah,
sure.
I guess I never really thought about the Midwesterner's obsession with ranch until I've sort of aged and, you know, experienced some other cultures, like within America specifically. Because and it's like, oh, not everyone. I mean, I don't put ranch in my pizza, but I'm like, oh, people do that. I guess it's just not my thing. But it's
people
like,
put
no.
ranch on almost everything in the Midwest. It seems
Ranch?
like
I've grown to become disgusted by ranch.
Really?
And
why is that?
I'm almost
And
kind of
how?
glad. I'm happy for it. I don't need it in my life. Good riddance. How? I don't know. It's just, maybe it's just one. It's just the butt of so many jokes. I think that has something to do with it. And it just really started getting me thinking about, like, how unhealthy it is. And that's number two, is that I'm just way more aware of what I'm putting into my body. Granted, I mentioned eating 4 Pop-Tarts earlier. When I'm actually going to work, I'm way more concerned about and aware of what I'm putting into my body. And just, like, I will not, well, I'll put it this way. There's probably no chance of me ever eating a salad with ranch on it, ever. Because what's the point of even eating salad then?
Right. I had never thought about that before until a coworker of mine, I was having a salad with ranch, and he said literally the same thing. Like, what's the point?
I'll just eat French fries at that point.
Right. Exactly.
If I'm gonna do it, just gonna do it.
Exactly. Actually, you know what's funny, buddy? So I was fortunate enough to be able to borrow a couple scales from my mentor at school, so my parents could weigh their suitcases. And I thought, well, since I have the scale
scales
here,
did you borrow?
One of the, like, just regular ones you stand on, and a small one you can.
Okay.
Yeah,
You hang stuff from it.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing all these gestures, and our listeners are like, "What's going on here?" But yeah. So, anyways, I figured, you know what, the scale's here. I'm gonna weigh myself and see how much I weigh.
Okay.
And so I can tell you. Well, here I think it's actually no. I think I do know what it is in pounds. Believe it or not, Jared, I think I was about. Oh man, I hate to say this, but I think when I left Michigan, I was about 195 to 198 pounds.
Okay.
Heaviest I've ever been in my life.
Okay.
I think grad school, bad eating, not exercising enough, all sorts of eating too much ranch on my salads, all sorts of stuff, right?
Thinking you're eating healthy. I'm going to eat more of these salads.
Right. Use half a bottle of ranch in the salad. But yeah. And so I've come here and I've been living in the Czech Republic for 4 months, right? Don't have cut ranch completely out of my diet, which is 100% true.
You say that like it's a heroin or something.
To some Midwesterners, it might be.
That's true.
It might be. But anyways, so I weighed myself, and I am down to 84 kilos or 185 pounds.
Oh.
Parada.
Great. And
So-
you've also been exercising more, haven't you? Did you mention
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I've been going to the gym more often, usually at least 2 to 3 times a week. I'm hoping to bump it up to 4 to 5 because a student of mine recommended a really good gym. Believe it or not, it's actually downstairs, like in the basement of a hotel. Because the gym at our school, it's nice in terms of it's free and it has weights, but there's really no squat rack, and all the weights, the bars for barbells aren't standard Olympic size. Meaning they're really small, and I have no idea what anything weighs there besides the plates themselves.
So it's not great. It's just free.
Right. So it's kind of a shot in the dark trying to figure out
So
how
it's
much
great
weight I'm
because
actually
it's free.
lifting.
That's it.
Exactly. And it's not too far from my apartment.
That
so if
too,
I'm
yeah.
in a rush, I can go there. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. Actually, in my English class today, we talked about New Year's resolutions, and I told my students I'm hoping to up the gym, the gym, like I said, 4 or 5 times a week. Back in the day, you remember I was going like 6 times a week. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of a guy named David Goggins?
No, who's that?
He's a frequent not frequent. He's been on Joe Rogan a couple times, but he's like he used to be in he's just this guy he used to be in the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers.
Oh yeah. I have heard about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
And his whole mantra is just getting after it and just like always putting himself in extreme uncomfortable situations. So he was recently on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's done all these crazy challenges for himself. He's now becoming he had to cut it short, I think, for his book tour or something. But he was a wildfire firefighter for a bit.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And Joe asked him, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, "It's just because it was hard." And he's like, "I don't even get paid a lot." The only reason I brought him up was to say he'll get you going to the gym like 12 times a week, because like he makes the strongest, toughest person feel like a piece of shit.
Right. I don't think I'm at that level yet, but that will be my 2020 New Year's resolution. Go David Goggins style in the gym. But
It'll be a
yeah.
whole different podcast in a year.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy though to think about that. And like I've noticed too, my goal here wasn't necessarily, I mean, it's been good to lose a little bit of weight, but like my main goal is just get healthier. And obviously I guess losing weight is a part of it. But it feels good knowing that like my pants fit looser.
Oh.
That's a plus for sure. My dress pants as well, which is really nice. Who knows, dude? Maybe I can squeeze into that old tux now. You never know.
Oh, shit.
Because my senior year, I weighed 185 when I did my senior recital.
You're speaking my language with those pants, though. I depending on the time of the year, my entire mood can be based on what belt loop.
For sure.
I use in the morning.
Right.
And then sometimes like I'll be like kind of what I consider in the middle of both belt loops and force it to the farther one and be like, nah, can't do it. Trying
Right.
too hard.
Right.
Cut it back.
The worst
You
is when
fatty.
you, right? The worst is when you start in the morning on that one belt loop, and then by the end of the day, you gotta switch belt loops. Oh man, that's the worst.
I haven't done that in a while, but that usually doesn't happen to me because I tend to not eat lunch at work. So
Okay.
like I guess you'd call it whatever fasting.
Intermittent fasting. I do
Yeah.
the same thing.
But I
usually
don't like to
eat
call
till
it that
11:30
because
or noon.
I usually don't eat till dinner. Like I don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll have lunch. Like I had lunch today because I knew we'd do this podcast, so I wouldn't be able to eat right when I got home. But
Gotcha.
usually I don't eat anything until like 5 o'clock maybe.
Oh wow, that's not. I don't even know what you would call that because intermittent fasting, I think, is from usually like it's like a 12-hour, 14-hour fast, not like
Yeah, well that's about
18.
14.
That's like 18, isn't it? I
Well,
mean,
there's
if you eat.
I don't eat. I usually will eat. Sometimes I eat more than once during that time, though. So, like
Okay.
for example, what I was going to do yesterday, which I didn't end up doing because tiredness took over. But then I was fine, so I guess it worked. But I made right when I got home yesterday. I made salmon and broccoli, and I ate that. A pretty big piece of salmon, and that was at like 6 o'clock that I ate. And then I played piano. And then I had sweet potatoes, and later I was going to make sweet potato fries while I was playing piano, but I never got to it. And I didn't do it, and I was fine. And stuff like I just think there's an over dependence on food, and once that first bit of food gets into your mouth, I think it's just, at least for me, it's just on. Like
I see. Okay, that's fair.
and so that's why I like to eat a big dinner, and then not eat anything else unless it's like the weekend. Then
People
usually on
tend to do
weekend, all
the
bets are off.
opposite here in the Czech Republic. It's a big hearty lunch and then something really small for dinner. And that's actually what I did with my parents. And although now that I'm getting back into the swing of things, I usually don't eat until, I mean, depending on the day and when I'm teaching, it could be anywhere from noon to a couple days. Like once in a while, it's even 2 or 2:30.
I think that's good. I think that whole concept of the breakfast is the most important meal of the day is kind of going out with the
I agree.
food pyramid.
I agree. Right. For sure. Well, I think too, like, I think the only time where I really try to eat a lot and like spread it out is if I'm going to the gym a lot. If I'm going to the gym a lot and I have a heavy workout,
Your body's demanding it.
exactly. Whereas, I've been a little lazy the last couple of days, haven't really hit the gym, so don't need to pig out on food,
Right.
But yeah.
I'm with you. That's how I feel too. Like I eat more when I'm in the summer, probably when I'm mountain biking every weekend and stuff like that. Then obviously
for
I'll
sure.
have a pretty hearty breakfast.
Yeah, you're like you said, your body knows. It's really amazing.
Dude, so speaking of this weekend, I wanted to mention this. So I'm going to a Red Velvet Hall concert, and I'm going to come back to you with a review.
Oh,
It
nice.
is going to be a trio involving a pianist, viola, and a cello.
Oh, cool.
And I don't have much information on them, but I'm excited to go back. Red Velvet Hall is this like essentially a chamber concert, which is small orchestral pieces of a few instruments put on in this guy's house, and he doesn't live in a mansion or anything. I mean, he has a nice house, but it's not like you wouldn't walk in and be like, man, this person must be really ballin'. You'd be like, this is a nice
Right.
house. This person's doing well with their life. But so they have a nice living room, and it's very nicely decorated, and so. They call it Red Velvet Hall because there's a legitimate curtain that they have. They never close it. It's always open, but
Okay.
it has kind of sort of that it gives it sort of that presentation-y sort of area. And so
Oh, nice.
the living room is there, and then it seats. You could probably seat about 25 at the tops in there. It's pretty tight, but you could probably fit 25 in there. And then the band, sometimes it's a singer, sometimes the guy that owns the house, he's a pianist too. He'll play stuff with other people. This time it's not him though. He's just obviously putting it on. And so they sit, and then so they're they sit in front of the living room by the door, and it's a pretty cool setup. And then they
That's
make
awesome.
the host makes food after, and usually that's when I sneak out so I don't have to.
Oh,
talk
there you
to
go.
people.
That's smart. there you go. That's funny. I was going
So
to ask
I'm going
if
to come
it
back
was
with a review on the next episode.
Nice. Looking forward to it. I was going to ask if it was called Red Velvet because they served red velvet cake, but you already
No.
answered my question, so
Because
we're
then I
good.
would stick around. or at
There
least
you go.
get it on a paper plate and eat it in the car as I'm driving
Right.
home.
Nice. Well, buddy, you think it's time to get into some shout-outs?
Yeah, I want to spread a little love. I actually have a couple. I was feeling lubby-dubby these past couple days. Something
I
about
love
that
it.
Zwischen den Jahren episode really got me emotional.
You're starting 2019 right, buddy. I like it. I'm glad to hear it.
So the first one goes out to a group of millions of women in the southern Indian state of Kerala. They formed a 385-mile-long wall in protest against a ban on females between the ages of 10 and 50 at a Sabarimala temple. So footage has emerged. I'll read a little bit. Footage has emerged showing part of the human chain in the center of Thrissur after the Women's Wall was organized by Kerala State's left-wing coalition government on Tuesday. A couple weeks ago. I mean, this is not obviously last Tuesday, but that doesn't matter. This was like a couple days ago. So officials told BBC that about 5 million women had helped to form the 385-mile chain, which stretched along the length of Kerala from its northern tip to Kasaragod to its southern end in the state capital. I'm not even going to say that. And you guys are all, I'm doing everyone a favor by not saying that.
That's fair. That's badass. That's awesome.
And so, yeah, and so they've been banned from being in the temple during menstruating ages because they're considered dirty, which is fucking stupid. That's so dumb.
I've never understood how men can put those labels on women like that, because it's like, how are you dirty? Like, it's just a normal bodily function.
It's like this is what happens.
And humans in general are pretty gross, men and women. If you really think about it,
I know.
You know?
I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous that that they're doing that. But I think it's cool that many people were able to organize and
absolutely
feel that strongly.
Absolutely,
about that,
big ups to them. Shout out.
Oh, and I don't want to also shout out, by the way. And there are also I don't have the exact number in front of me. But there were a couple million men as well that showed up in solidarity, so that's cool too. Shout out to them as well.
Yeah, good. I'd like to give a shout out since this is kind of similar in some way. And this is a shout out to Austria and also Nicole Kopanik and Daniela Payar, who are the first Austrian women to celebrate the country's first same-sex marriage.
Spread a little love. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it just became legal in Austria?
I'm not sure if it just became legal, but they are the first same-sex couple to officially tie the knot in Austria, which is still a fairly
recently legal. If they're the first ones to do it, it's probably only recently become legal.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, Austria is still a pretty predominantly Catholic country, I think it's safe to say.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
But there was no chance of me going to church while I was studying abroad. You crazy? God, I hope my grandma never listens to that.
But yeah, so shout out to you two, and shout out for Austria. Shout out to Austria for having their first same-sex marriage.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's always got to be someone that's the first.
Right.
Shout out to Braxton Morale. Do you know this kid?
I don't.
16. He's from Kansas. Excuse me. Hold on. He's 16. He's from Kansas, and he's graduating from high school in the next couple days. And then a couple days after that, he's graduating from Harvard University.
Wait, what?
16-year-old Braxton is simultaneously graduating from high school and college. You heard me.
How is that possible? That's amazing.
In May, I'll explain. In May, Braxton is set to graduate from high school in Ulysses, Kansas. What a great name for a city. And and just days later from Harvard University. He hopes the bachelor's degree he earns will pave the way for admission to Harvard Law School in the fall and ultimately a career in national politics and maybe one day the presidency. Man, see, this is a shout out. We don't need to get into his political leanings, but I feel like I know what it is. I've been going. This is a quote from I've been going to Harvard now from him, Braxton. I've been going to Harvard now half as long as I've been going to regular school, which I believe by regular school he means high school.
High school, right.
So it's really become a part of my life. Braxton, 16, said on Saturday to see the conclusion and the results and the rewards of that, it's a typo. It's really an exciting prospect for me. From the time he was in middle school, Braxton has been studying at Harvard's Extension School, mostly taking classes online. His concentration was in government with a minor in English. So he's been taking classes online just like almost as a hobby since middle school, and he's just gotten his credits.
That's awesome. Big shout out to him. That's great.
Yeah, that's dope. I'm always blown away by those people. I think when my sister, I might get this wrong. This could be a whole bunch of mama hoo hoo. But I love how I just totally used that. It's not even how that's not what the Untranslatable even means. But I believe when my sister was in, when she went to UPenn in Philadelphia, and I believe the year she was a freshman, the youngest ever freshman was there, or they're super young, whatever the youngest ever or not, 15-year-old was a freshman at UPenn the year my sister was starting there.
I can't even imagine that. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. Well, those were some good shout-outs. I definitely think we spread some love there.
Yeah,
it's a good way to start
love.
2019. I hope we continue to spread some love. I always love it when you have shout-outs, Jared. It's always nice to hear what you find.
Oh, thanks, buddy. And I'm right. It was Brittany, same name as my sister, but spelled differently. Brittany Exline was in 2007, so my sister was a sophomore then. No, she was I don't know. It doesn't matter. She was either a freshman or a sophomore, but she this 15-year-old started her tenure at UPenn.
Nice. Well, Jared, I think it's time for a tasty brew. What do you think?
Yeah, man. What are you drinking there?
Let me crack this bad boy open.
I don't think we've ever had a bottle, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I've had bottles.
Oh, yeah, okay, because I've never had a bottle, I don't think.
Most of mine have been bottles, except for the
all right.
Gambarinos.
Yeah, now I think about it.
But yeah, so this is Kozel, and if you look at this cap, it's light on one side and dark on the other.
Right.
Here, I'll snap a quick pic of that for the gram. Why not?
Get some light on there, because I can barely see it. And so, Kozel.
Kozel, yep.
And also on the label on the top, I can see it's split the same way.
Yes, it's split.
Mm-hmm.
And it's split, and it's got a goat on there. That's like the typical logo.
Is that a goat or a ram?
Probably a ram.
Okay.
Probably.
Is a ram a kind of goat?
Right, it's
or probably in the same family.
I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm not an expert on goats or rams. I know it's hard to believe. All the time I spent in Austria in the mountains and places, but yeah. So
I
pouring
googled
this bad boy out right now.
I googled it. And it was just all pickup trucks. Oh, it's a kind of sheep actually.
Oh, Kozel?
A ram is a male sheep.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So pouring this bad boy out. So let me tell you, Jared. There's kind of a reason why I got this one specifically.
Okay.
It's because I've been to a couple bars in Prague, and I've seen people get these on tap, and or at least what I would assume is this beer. And what they do, it's kind of like a black and tan, where they have Kozel Light and Kozel Dark. I believe they start with Kozel Light, and then they put Kozel Dark on the top, and you can see the separation.
Would that be because I wonder if that? Now this is just a guess. Because the dark is heavier, so that way it kind of auto mixes by dropping to the bottom.
So this is what's interesting about dark beer here in the Czech Republic. It's actually really sweet.
Okay.
And some Czechs have told me, I don't know how true this is, and I'm sure some of my students who are listening will correct me when they hear this, when this episode drops, but I've heard and been told that usually women are the ones that like stereotypically drink dark beer.
Okay.
Because it's sweeter, but I don't really know how true that is. But, as you can see here, this is kind of a medium hue. I would say it's darker than a Pilsner. It's obviously, in a bottle, you can't have it separated smoothly like that.
But so that is a mix of their light and their dark beer.
Yes.
Is what that is. Okay.
Yes, and I've had both of them separately. Maybe I should have reviewed those two first, but too late now.
We don't have all day. We're not going to do a saga of beers. We'll just get all in one.
We might have to now. This is good. I like this.
Wow.
So this
quite a
is
response.
really good.
I like it.
So let me paint a palette picture for our listeners out there who who are far away and can't try this Kozel. And it's Kozel, and it's 11 degrees, which I think is like 5%, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they call it, I believe they call it Chezani, which I'm sure means something. I didn't do my homework, kids. So let me look it up real quick, and I can tell you what it means. One moment here.
My phone just fell off the table.
Interesting. It says I think it means cut, but let me. I can't get the R hot check in there, but I think it's cut. And
How do you do that?
Which would make sense.
Do you ever have that struggle with your keyboard?
Yeah, oh yeah, all the time. Depending on what I'm using. If I'm using
what
Word,
I do?
what?
I copy and paste.
Copy paste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I need to just set up a couple quick shortcuts. I've just been too lazy to do it. But anyway, so this is called Kozel Chezani. That R with that hot check, man. It's tough. We're going to talk about it in our next episode as well about pronunciation, because that letter, that sound has been giving me a lot of difficulty. But back to the beer. So this beer
is going to be a 2-hour-long episode of you complaining about that specific sound.
That was my plan, actually. Yes, it was. But let me paint that palate picture. So it's definitely, I would say, in terms of Czech beers, this is probably I don't know if this will make sense, but the least Czech tasting beer, because of the mixture between the sweetness of the dark and the light. And I would also say that Kozel, the Kozel that's the lighter color, also isn't very bitter. To me, it's very smooth. And this one is also really, really smooth. And it doesn't feel heavy at all. It seems like a brew you could enjoy almost any time, really. It's really good. Let me have another little sip of it to refresh my memory.
And so it seems, based off what you're saying in my head, that if you were to have the dark beer by itself, it seems like the sweetness might almost be a little too much.
Oh,
but
I would
when
agree.
it's mixed with the lighter beer, which is not sweet, it adds a perfect amount of sweetness to it for you.
Yeah, I would say so. You get slight hints of maybe like a chocolate, but not like a super sweet or even a super bitter. Mm-hmm. Like not sweet like a milk chocolate, but also not bitter like a dark chocolate.
I think that's what they call it. They call that
right, probably. But yeah, it's really good. I'm definitely a fan of it, and honestly, the whole reason why I got this was because I saw people drinking this in the hospoda or the pub, and I thought it would be really interesting to try. Now I have to try it on tap to see. I'm sure it's obviously way better on tap, but this out of the bottle is really good.
Also,
pretty fresh. Mm-hmm.
When it's on tap, you're also beholden to the hand of the bartender.
Also true. That's true.
This is all machines. Yours
Right.
is, every bottle you'll get is probably the exact same level of each one.
Probably.
But
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see if, or I'd be interested to see if you could go to the hospoda and say, can I get a Kozel gemischt? I don't think they use the word gemischt.
Chezani.
Chezani, but with a little bit more of the light or a little bit more of the dark.
You probably
a little
could.
heavy-handed. Give me a little extra of the light and a little light on the dark, or other way around.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you could. But yeah, this is good stuff. I really like this.
That's cool. Seems like you might get some more of those bottles later.
Oh, without a doubt. And the thing is, like, I've always really enjoyed Kozel, but some of my Czech friends like complain and say it's not very good beer. I think it's pretty good. I've always liked it. When I bought it, though, I usually would get the lighter one, not the dark one, because I've tried the dark one on tap before, and it was so sweet that I figured it's going to be just as sweet in the bottle, and it's just too much for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is a really good balanced beer, not too heavy, really nice color to it. Let me also give it a little whiff. Doesn't smell skunky like a Pilsner usually does. Honestly, when you smell it, you do get a little bit of like chocolate in there, I guess.
Okay, maybe it's just that what that Rezani causes, like the mixture of the two together, will give you that effect. Right. Because you don't get. You wouldn't say you get that from either of the two on their own, would you?
No, I wouldn't say so. Maybe the dark one, but it's so sweet
Okay.
it's almost overpowering.
Right.
But yeah,
That's interesting. I like that concept that on their own they're okay, but together they form a super union. It's like some superhero combo or something.
right. It's kind of like Batman and Robin. They kick so much more ass when they're together, I would imagine.
So would you say the dark beer is the Robin and the light
Probably.
beer is the Batman?
Probably. I don't know. It just depends on your taste. I'm not into sweet beers. I don't know. Sweet beers, I gotta really be in the mood for it, and usually it has to be a heavier stout. And I wouldn't say that the dark beers here are really that. I don't think they're really much heavier than just the Kozel Light versus the Kozel Dark. I think in terms of heaviness, to my taste buds and to my belly, they seem about the same.
I'm with you though. I'm more of a. I'm not into the sweeter stuff either. Same with the wine too. I prefer a little drier rather than like sweeter.
Right.
I think it's about that time.
I think so too. We already gave our listeners a bonus one with Chezani, meaning cut for the beer.
No, there were 2 bonus ones.
What were the other ones? Hospoda?
What was the earlier? We at the beginning of the episode, one you told your students earlier today went down the wrong pipe,
Oh, that's true. Good call.
which means
That's
you
true.
choked on something,
Right.
usually a liquid.
Right. Exactly. Well, Jared, I want to start us off with a Czech one.
Okay.
Both of mine today are have to do with animals, and so here we go. So this is mít zaječi úmysly, which means to have a hare, like a rabbit, to have a hare's intentions.
Does that mean you're like sneaky?
Not quite. I would say, for example, you have a hare's intentions when you go to these Velvet concerts a little bit.
Where it's like I have a hare's intentions. Where it's like I'm there on a mission and I want to get out. Like you're on a mission.
I wouldn't say on a mission, but I would say this means to run away. Also, to get out of a sticky situation. Also, to get out of a difficult relationship simply by escaping. So I thought that was a good one.
Oh man, I wish I didn't relate to that so much. What's the English version again?
To have a hare's intentions, and in Czech, it's mít zaječi úmysly.
Okay, I like that one. Obviously.
It's a good one.
I have 2, and they're both Yoruba, which is spoken in
cool.
parts of Nigerian Benin. Benin? And I apologize early, obviously, because I'm going to butcher these pronunciations. The second one's pretty long, too. I don't know why I did this to myself. Obe ki gebe inu agba mi. And that literally translates to, the soup does not move round in an elder's belly. Around. They put round, but I think it should be around.
Right. The soup does not move around in an elder's belly. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That
I tried
could
to
mean...
keep both of mine. The reason why I kept both Yoruba is because they were both elder-based. So I was like, oh, perfect.
Nice.
I was trying to find... connected the...
I was trying to find elder ones for Czech, and no luck. I'm sure they have some out there, but I couldn't find them. So the soup doesn't move around an elder's belly. Does that mean that like elderly people tend to stay calm, or they're not like shaken up?
You're on the right track, but no. So I think in English what we would say is maybe like if you have anything to I'll give you an example. Let me just do it this way. Like say someone came to you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I did something terrible. I can't believe it." And you're like, "Hey, listen, dude, I'm a bank vault. You can tell me anything. What is it?"
So you could tell an elder something and it won't bother them because they've seen it all and been through it all.
No,
Yeah?
you should be able to keep secrets, is what it is.
Oh.
So what I was saying,
I see.
my example
I
was
gotcha.
someone did something terrible, and you're like, "You can tell me, I won't tell anyone." Is what I was
I
getting
see what
at.
you're saying. Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that means that I think it does have it does probably relate to having a strong stomach of some sort. But it does mean to be able to keep secrets.
Makes sense. I like that
So
one.
you can keep them in your stomach.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. I would say you're one of those people, Jared.
Yeah. People sometimes will tell me, don't tell anyone this, and I'm like, who would I tell? I don't know if I'm a good secret keeper or it's just I don't have anyone to tell.
That was before you had an internationally recognized podcast, though. So watch out, people. Don't be telling Jared your secrets now. Oh, that's great. All right, Jared, my last one for you today is also Czech. You're going to be fluent in Czech in terms of idioms by the time you get here. I'm just saying, trying to prepare you.
I'll take it.
So this one also has to do with animals. That's right. I'm surprised you didn't hit the mluvite anglicky drop. But
well, I'm going to be fluent in Czech.
That's true. That is true. That's true. Good point.
Spread a little love.
So here we go.
I hit the wrong button. That's totally my bad.
You're good.
Oh my god. Now I don't know where I put that drop. Where did I put that drop? I'm losing drops.
Here we go. All right. So this is Czech.
Oh shit! I have no idea where that is.
And it is.
I meant to hit the Viborni, by the way. That's what I meant to hit.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice.
But I lost
it. It's all good. So here we go. All right. All right. Anyways, here's the Czech untranslatable for you.
Oh my god.
Vy mám jít ze jalové krávy tele, which means to talk a calf out of a heifer.
Is that to sweet talk someone or to convince them to do something?
There you go. Hit that ham horn. It means to persuade someone.
Yeah, that makes sense though. That idiom does translate very well to English as far as the understanding. I can imagine that sounds like a southern. Especially when you say heifer, because that's a southern thing to say.
Right.
That sounds like a southern phrase.
Add it to the drops. Talk that calf out of that heifer. Was that a good southern accent? I have no idea what it was.
The only word you put a southern accent on was heifer, but it was so good. Heifer.
Oh, too funny. Hit me with that other Yoruba untranslatable,
Sorry,
Jared.
I'm writing myself a reminder to get that drop. So the second one's longer, and this is the one I really got to apologize for in advance, but it's a good one. I like it. And it goes a little bit like this. Un yi agbalagba li noioho joko omoiton lei un noiho uduo.
And
What
does
an
that
elder
mean?
sees while sitting down, a child can never see it while standing up. What an elder sees while sitting down, a child can never see it while standing up.
So it's like something. Basically, you just have to be mature, right?
Yeah. Experience is
All
the
right.
best teacher.
That's even better, and that's true.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, I think we've said this even before on our podcast, but the older I get, the stupider I feel sometimes.
I think that's part of learning more.
That's
Realizing.
true.
I mean, as we've said before, part of learning more is realizing how little we actually know.
That is true.
And
That's for sure.
And I think that is part of becoming wiser is realizing that how insignificant we are and that we don't know anything.
Oh, for sure. That's why we need our family and why we need our elders, you know?
Yeah. I support all the elders in my life. Shout out to my grandmother. Shout out to my grandfather, my other grandmother. No, I'm just kidding. I was just going to go through everyone. So, do you think about the potential for having to take care of your parents when they get older? And you, I guess?
Yes and no. The reason why I say yes and no is because if they have the financial means or I have the financial means, I'm probably going to have someone else take care of them because I know they'll be able to, a professional, in my opinion, would be able to do a better job. But I think culturally that's viewed very differently, right? Like I have some former students and graduate colleagues from China where they in a lot of, not only China, but other Asian countries, I think that it's kind of expected that you take care of your family. Yeah, go ahead.
You can finish what you're saying first.
My uncle actually married a Japanese woman, amazing woman. Shout out to my Aunt Masai. And she was telling me that she was married to a Japanese man before she met my uncle. And basically she took care of her parents and his parents until they died. And then, unfortunately, her husband kind of just threw her out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like...
And I'm sure that's not super normal. And now apparently, he's brought a lot of dishonor to his family name, which is a big deal in Japan. Mm-hmm. But it was just interesting to me that...
But who cares about the dishonor to the family name when it's like, yeah, but it's like, I meaning your aunt is still the one that just got dumped,
Right.
after a long marriage.
Right.
Or it's like, okay, I take care of your parents and stay married to you for that long, and then you're just done with me.
Right.
It's
and
like,
here's the
he might be ashamed to his family, but I feel like that's little, maybe it feels nice a little bit, but I feel like that's a little help for her,
Right. Right. Oh, for sure. Right. And so
yeah,
I don't know. What about you though? Would you take care of your parents, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's I was thinking about it when you brought up this episode, and it's hard for me to think about it now. One, because they're in fine shape, and two, because they have so much more money than I do. Or it's like and they're retired, so it's like I don't know like, but I watch how the main reason my parents even live in Louisiana is because of their parents and to be closer to their parents as they're getting older. Mm-hmm. And they don't live with them, or my grandparents don't live with my parents, but they're like 20 minutes away. And my parents don't really work, so they can go over there whenever. Mm-hmm. And so what I've noticed in my family with my grandparents, with my parents, is there's a lot of there's this very strong independence, and so I can't imagine. Well, one, which is pretty common here in America, there's no chance that they'd ever be going to like a retirement home. I can't imagine I would do that. I think I can't imagine I'd ever have them live with me either. No offense. Sometimes they listen to this, but I would definitely make sure that they had the best care, and I respect the fact that that they have moved back but moved back close to them. But it's hard to guarantee that everyone could be in a financial situation where they can move to where they can just up and move and they're retired, so they don't have to worry about a job or finding money or stuff like that. So they're open to go wherever they want. And I think and sometimes I want, and that I also, since my parents are also like their parents, the age gaps get wider as we get older. So not that I'm going to be still like needing help by the time they're aging, but like it's easier for them to do that move because they're older. So I feel like in my head, the best I can guarantee at this point is that I'll make sure that they at least have some in-home service. I don't know. They're in great shape, though. I know that's so short-sighted of me to say, but they are, and so are my grandparents for the most part. It's funny that you brought up, or it's very apropos that you brought up China, though, because they actually have, as of around 2012 or 2013, they have an elderly rights law. So we'll get into some cultures and how they view the elderly, but I'll bring up this just because you brought up China. But they have a specific law where you're not allowed to, and other countries have this too. I believe Singapore also has this. Hold on, I can verify that. Yep, Singapore has something similar. So offspring are essentially legally required to take care of their parents, both emotionally and financially. So your parents can't sue you if you're not supporting them financially, or I believe not visiting them, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's, as you've mentioned, deeply ingrained into the culture, taking care of and most of these, what do you call like Japan, Korea, China, those kind of Asian countries, Eastern Asian,
Yeah,
I believe is the term.
Probably.
They all have that similar strong like respect for the elderly, and I don't know if Korea and Japan have the same laws, but I know Singapore and China do, and it's becoming a problem because as one, there's now stricter, not rules, but in China there's incentives for only having one child because the population's so big, and urbanization is happening rapidly. So people
Right.
are moving out of rural communities. So it's becoming harder to move families. So in recent years, retirement homes are slowly becoming a thing. But it is tough just because even though there is becoming more of a need for it, there's still that cultural sort of stigma to it.
Oh,
Where
absolutely.
it's like, wow, you can't take care of your parents or whatever it is. And it's tough, but it's like, yeah, I mean, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Well, there's another untranslatable for you guys.
Right.
Where it's like, I want to go to the city where there's the money and opportunity for my family, yet then I can't attend to my family or take care of them because I don't have enough money to travel back and forth. But maybe you have enough money to send them however many, I don't know, whatever it is you're doing. And it's a bummer. I'll tell you this. This episode really got me thinking about my own personal mortality.
Yeah, more so than the death episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Because this was more about the death episode was about already being dead. This one was so much about
What happens
I guess
to us
not
as
about
we age,
not about my mortality maybe, but it's just about like
our future, our journey
it was
through
very
life, right?
existential, and like
Okay.
what will my life be like when I'm 85 and I'm walking around with a walker, shitting on myself.
If the world is still around,
Thank you for that.
if it's still,
little bit of
if it's still
positivity.
existing.
Spread a little love. Like
I agree with you though. This episode's
Especially-
also made me think about that too.
yeah, especially like because I'm so much of like a loner and I kind of enjoy it nowadays. But it's like, man, but like what's gonna happen when I'm like, yeah, like when I'm old? Who will I turn to then? and
The
and-
Untranslatable podcast and your co-host Chad.
yeah. It'll be like one of those cartoons where we're like, what are we going to be like when we're old? And it's like the SpongeBob and Patrick and walkers.
Right. I wonder that though too, and for me too, with our parents, exactly as you mentioned. For me, it's more about providing them with the best care and comfort that I can, and sadly, I don't think that will be if I'm the one taking care of them. However, my mom has taken care of my grandmother, my grandfather, my great aunt, and I've also seen how it takes a toll on you physically and mentally. Because you're not only are you watching your parents and relatives, sadly slowly pass away in front of your eyes, but also you have to also kind of put on a front to stay strong for them, because you're the last person. I remember when my grandmother passed away, my mom was the last person that saw her. And, and you have to try to stay strong for your family. And so
Right.
for me, I would rather be able to enjoy the time I have with my family by having them be happy and healthy as possible and taken care of properly. Now, whether or not we'll have the finances to do that, that's a whole nother podcast episode. But, we'll see. I mean, it's just interesting how other cultures view, and not only view, but expect your family relationships,
Yeah. I saw you mentioned the staying strong and staying positive, and I think what I wanted to say is there's kind of a line to that where it's like yes, I understand what you're saying, but you also can't sacrifice your own sacrifice and or deny your own feelings,
Right.
But I saw this study on some CNN article that I was reading, and they said that there was some Irish study that spanned over 30 years, and they said that mental conditions like depression and anxiety were common among people with negative ideas about aging. So people that just constantly were fearing aging and tend to be more depressed when they were older. And also, studies found that the chances of dementia can be lowered by 49.8% if a positive outlook is maintained.
I believe it. I think the mind is a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I think for all of our listeners out there who have relatives who may be going through a difficult time, I think it just goes to show you how helpful and beneficial positivity can be if you just, as your drop says, spread a little love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to talk about some other cultures?
I was actually wondering if I could ask you, speaking of families, where do you think are the best countries to raise a family if you were to move abroad?
If we were to move abroad.
So what do you think number one would be, Jared? We'll just do the top 5.
I mean, it's easy. Norway. Sweden, Norway.
Nope. You're close. You're in that region.
Denmark.
Finland.
Okay, yeah, the other one.
Finland is the number one. This is according to The Independent.
Okay.
But Finland is number one because no expat parent had anything negative to say about children's healthcare, children's safety, or children's well-being in Finland. 70% of expats said the quality of education there is excellent. This is compared to the global average of just 21%.
I think a lot of Americans' minds would be blown if they were to visit another country and say get sick or injured or something, and see how like they're, I don't know, I don't know if it's the same for every country, but most of those European countries that we talk about, you would be free.
Oh yeah, or very affordable.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Jared, what do you think is number 2?
See, is another European country?
It's European, but it's not Scandinavian. And it's probably not a country you might expect.
Ukraine.
Nope.
Okay, I don't know. What is it?
Czech Republic.
Ah, okay.
Czech Republic comes in at number 2. And this is what's interesting. From last year, the Czech Republic shot up from number 14 to number 2, as 74% of expats agree that education is easy to afford, but
for
expats, for the children.
Okay.
Right, because these are people raising families abroad.
Right.
And so it didn't reach the top spot because the education, according to the expats that live there, is higher rated in Finland than in the Czech Republic. Number 3.
Oh, you want me to guess?
Number 3, yeah, this is a turbulent country, I would say.
A turbulent country?
Yep.
Turkey?
No, not quite there.
Is that what you mean by turbulent?
I mean, yeah, it's turbulent.
Okay. I don't know if you meant like they tend to get earthquakes. You asshole.
No, this one has a very turbulent political past.
The U.S. No, I'm kidding.
Israel.
Oh, okay.
Israel's number 3.
Besides for all of the, if Israel wasn't where it was, it seems like it's a pretty good place to live. Mm-hmm. It's just there's this location.
I mean, from my friends who visited there, say it's an amazing country.
Yeah, my sister's visited before as well.
Right, but I don't know. It's a difficult political climate. Anyways.
Yeah,
we're not here to talk about politics today. We're here to talk about family.
I don't even really understand
spread some love.
The Israel thing.
We'll talk about it later. It's quite, I mean, I don't have the answers, but it's interesting to discuss. All right, number 4, Jared. What do you think number 4 is?
Korea.
Also
South
in
Korea.
Europe. Also in Europe. I would say it's safe to say you and I really like this country.
Germany?
You're very close.
Austria.
There we go. Austria's number 4. And
Okay.
It was apparently last year, Austria was actually number 1.
I believe that. As we mentioned on the road again, they're always in one of the top cities to live in general. So
right. But what dropped Austria a couple places apparently, is the regard to to a friendly attitude towards families with children. Austria ranks in the bottom 3 for this factor. So they are 43rd place out of 45.
I wonder if these are American families that are saying this, and all I imagine is they're rambunctious, loud kids.
Could be. That very well could be. All right, Jared, and number 5 to top it off.
And I was like, well, Austrians might have a point on that one.
right. You might not be wrong.
Number 5?
Mm-hmm.
Austria, also Europe?
Yes.
France.
Nope. Further north. Further north.
Netherlands.
Further north.
Denmark.
I think that would be... It's further east.
Estonia? I don't know.
Sweden.
Okay.
Sweden.
That's northeast. How dare you?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's
I was totally thrown off.
Right.
That makes sense. I mean, those aren't surprising. I was a little confused on... it's weird, though, because... well, I guess I'm not confused, but like we talk about how these Asian countries have such a high regard for the elderly, and I think we should address why they're not on this list. And I think I know why.
Okay, why is that?
And it's because the countries have this such a strong. We're not talking about expats. I just realized I'm just talking about elderly people, so it's unrelated.
I'm still curious to hear your opinion. So let's hear it.
So well, because I saw the list I saw that regarding the best place for elderly people, it was similar, and
really interesting. Okay,
and I need to find where the ranking was. Like there was one place where they actually had rankings, but I'll just tell you what I remember off the top of my head instead of trying to find this thing. Is that some of these countries like Japan and China were ranked around 8 or 9 and not in the top. And it's because even though there's such a strong focus on keeping them, taking care of them, there's not a strong focus on employment. And I don't think they see much use for them employment-wise once they reach a certain age. So they're kind of aged out of the job market.
Right.
And so it's not good for that, but they'll be very well taken care of by their kids, hopefully.
Right. What's also interesting about that is the countries that have laws based on age as well. Like, in Germany and Austria, I'm pretty sure you put your age on your curriculum vitae or your resume. Whereas obviously that's illegal in the United States because
but you put your birthday, don't you?
No, I don't have my birth date on my CV.
Oh, on your CV. Sorry, I was thinking on like the application though, because when you actually apply, sometimes like online,
that's true.
I've had to put on my birthday.
That's true. That's true.
But so they don't have to do that here. But so wait, hold on, say that again. So in Europe, they put their age on there.
Yeah, right on the CV.
Huh. And yeah, I wonder if that is. I mean, ageism is clearly a problem, but I wonder if they're like looking at this and it's like, I don't want like a 66-year-old person doing this job.
I mean, I remember when my dad got laid off. He used to work at Pfizer, which is a big pharmaceutical company, and they shut down the entire plant in Ann Arbor, and he had a lot of problems finding a job because of his age and his experience. You know, a lot of places said, we'd love to hire you, but we can't pay you what you deserve with your experience and your credentials and everything else. So that's another kind of complex piece to the puzzle in terms of, age with jobs and also what's expected of you when you work.
Is that because, can they not pay that much because they like don't think they're going to like...
I have no idea. That's a good question.
Or is it just like, I don't know. I guess that's...
It's
but
tough.
Also, I'm sure there is like a lot of like they also, there might be a lot of ageism behind wanting to train older people too, or it's like, listen, we use Excel.
Right. Could be. Yeah.
I don't want to have to teach you how to do VLOOKUPs or whatever.
Right.
I think I revealed a little bit of ageism in myself, because I think sometimes I feel bad when I see older people working.
Yeah, I do too.
Where it's like, I think in my head where it's like, man, I hope that I have made enough where I don't have to work by the time I'm whatever age it is. Like I just like the privilege of working your entire life is that by the time you're this age, or we're 65, or by the time we're in that age, it'll probably be like 112. But
right.
by the time you're of a retiring age, like you're done. But then even like my grandpa, I don't know if he works now because he kind of has arthritis that's getting bad. But up until like a couple of years ago, like a year or two ago, he was still working, and it's not like he wasn't doing anything important really. Like I think he was like a quote unquote security guard at like the state capital or whatever. But he was retired. I think it was less for the money and more just for having something to do. Just wanting to get out of the house and
I
do
definitely
stuff.
know some people that work for that reason, exactly that reason.
Yeah, and I could definitely understand that because, I mean, I get restless now, and I don't think that I don't see why that would go away. I mean, maybe you might get tired easier, but I could still imagine. I feel like something like that sort of wanting to do stuff, wanting to get up and go. I don't see that sort of personality trait going away from someone just because they get older. Maybe I see more likely the person getting frustrated that they can't do what they were able to do before.
Oh, for sure.
But still, rather than just being like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that anymore. Where it's like, I want to do that though.
Right. I mean, I see that with my dad right now. He's starting to get frustrated. I mean, he's 72.
Is he really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, he will be in 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Or no, doesn't matter the day. He'll be 72 soon. I've started to notice, like, if I play sports with him or anything like that, I can tell he sometimes gets frustrated because he's just not as quick as he used to be. But he's still sharp as a tack and definitely clever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I think for some people, work is such an important part of your life. It kind of gives you purpose,
Yeah.
and if you lose that purpose, it's kind of like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. There's one of my coworkers. He is I think also 72, and he's still I mean, he has made more than enough money to retire. He's done his job. Like he doesn't even really. He's done higher positions than he's doing now. Mm-hmm. He's still very important, but it's so clearly that he just like one. He likes that he's important, which I'm not shitting on the guy. I like the guy. I think that's great, but he likes that he's needed, and two, he is needed.
Right.
And then like I think he gets so much purpose out of it. Like you can tell that he gets so much purpose out of it. He still travels all internationally. First of all, he's from Brazil, but he travels to China and India at least twice a year. Like he goes all over the place, and he has all these great relationships with people at companies and all over the world. And it's become his identity because he has friends. He's gotten international friends out of this.
Right.
And
that's pretty awesome.
And me being the young person, I wonder. It's like, well, like, how are we going to fill this guy's role because we need him and he's leaving. I'm not going to say when, but I mean, it's coming eventually. I mean,
right.
Sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's just so clearly like part of his identity. And sometimes I get nervous about that too, because that's how it was with my mom. She was very workaholic-y, and you could tell that it was part of her identity. And those people also tend to be pretty successful, but like, I don't want my job to be part of my identity.
Right.
Like,
where I think a lot of people would say the opposite of that. But,
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of like your job being part of your identity, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I think being a teacher's, it's kind of cool. I like it.
I'll take that as a yes. I'm not ashamed by my job or anything. I just think there's more interesting things to talk about me.
Okay, that's fair.
And it's just whenever people ask me like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm always just like, ugh. And I actually don't. People are usually kind of like, people seem to be like, it's not even like I'm really not ashamed because people seem to like it, but it's just like, yeah, but there's more interesting to talk about than work. I don't like talking about work.
That's when people ask you that, you should be like, I'm a pianist. I'm a podcaster.
podcaster and pianist. That's what
right.
pays the bills.
That's right.
And then I go to a cubicle on the side sometimes.
Exactly.
just to fill my days. So America. Want to talk about America?
Sure.
Where they stand?
Let's hear it.
Seniors in America are arguably happier and healthier than ever before. But they're still subject to prejudice and stereotyping. Unfortunately, some younger people perceive anyone with wrinkled skin or gray hair as old, and many elders report feeling ageism amongst society and the workplace. I believe you mentioned you experienced or witnessed some ageism while you were in Austria. Didn't you say that?
I mean, Austria, Prague, and any big
right.
city.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff were you seeing there?
And actually, well, let me even start off with this. When my parents arrived here, they
were in wheelchairs.
they landed in the Frankfurt airport, and they had to take the shuttle from one terminal to the other to get to their connecting flight to Prague.
Mm-hmm.
And as my dad gets older, sadly, his balance is starting to go. And I guess my mom was telling me that there were a bunch of young people on the shuttle that didn't bother getting up or moving for my dad to sit down when he's clearly an older gentleman. I mean, he has white hair and a white beard. And I think you can kind of tell by the way he walks and his posture that, he's getting up there and he has difficulty moving and walking and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he almost fell over and on the shuttle, and nobody besides my mom really tried to help him.
That's crazy.
Right? But then what's crazier is speaking of Vienna, while we were in Vienna, we were walking down Kärntnerstrasse, and this older guy fell over, and then 3 or 4 Austrians ran right up to him, helped him up, asked him if he was okay. So that was nice to see. Mm-hmm. But on public transportation, it's like a lot of the rules fly out the window, and in theory, you're supposed to offer your seat to someone older or someone, a person who's pregnant or injured. Mm-hmm.
Not only public transportation, but it gets even worse when you're at the airport.
Oh, for sure.
There's no respect for anyone at the airport. The airport has just turned into it's its own
universe. It's really crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. There's no as I've mentioned so much my routine, so I don't claim to be above it. I zone out from everyone when I get to the airport.
Right.
But granted, I would let someone sit in the seat. But the thing about those airport shuttles specifically is those ones don't have much space. One, they always pack them to the brim.
Oh, for sure.
And 2, there's not it's not like a normal public transportation bus where there's a lot of hold on points. They don't really have many spots to hold on, yet it's mostly standing room. It is a terrible design. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I don't know who designed them, but
it's the worst.
They weren't paying attention in their classes, that's for sure.
It is the worst. I assume it's just to get as many people in there as possible.
Yeah,
but
it has to be.
You can't even put a couple more poles on this thing. It's
right.
There's
exactly.
nothing to hold on to if you're jammed in there.
Exactly. But, it was funny when I was on public transportation in Vienna, in Dresden, not in Dresden, in Vienna, in Prague. I always made sure to, there were quite a few times in Prague where I stood up and let an older man or woman sit down for me. Whereas I'm looking around and I don't know if they were foreigners or if they were Czechs. I have no idea. But I'm just surprised nobody else asked before I did.
Yeah, have you no shame?
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk about society like I'm one of these old people, but there's just something to there is something to us becoming more and more there's more and more of a barrier to just talking to strangers. This is coming from someone that tries their hardest to never talk to strangers.
Right.
But there is becoming this barrier where it's becoming almost weirder and weirder to talk to strangers. With this whole online dating community thing, this whole a rise of online dating. We're almost now, it used to be the stigma to meet some male or some girl or dude online. Now it's like the real like it's not embarrassing to meet someone in person. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like way like it seems like there's way more of a stigma to just like walking up to someone where it's like what's this person doing? And I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying in this I'm not saying in this era you can't do it. I'm just saying it just seems like there's just because it's way less acceptable to not do that. It's now just becoming like we're just moving towards this where people are becoming emboldened on computers and then talking to each other less in person.
Right.
And I don't think it's a good way to go. You know what? I'm going to say it.
I would agree.
And it's makes me fear for the future.
Oh, me too. Me too. And the other problem is the whole point of the internet in theory was to bring us all closer. Yet I think actual person-to-person closeness has not, conversations and being with people has probably gone down a little bit because you can just tap into your phone and ignore everything.
I think it's brought us closer on a global standpoint, but I don't think it's helped us locally, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Like, yeah, I can now do a award-winning number one podcast with you because of it.
Right.
But also it now gives me even less incentive to actually go up and try to talk to a girl at a bar or something like that.
Right.
So,
that's just tough. That's tough in general, but that we can say can save that for.
I think the
another
girls
episode.
at the bars would be like, that actually sounds okay.
Right.
We're okay with you not talking to us.
Right.
Yeah, and also a difficulty is getting jobs, as I've mentioned. I wonder. Oh, so Vietnam is they have a very high respect for their elders.
Okay.
Once again, an Asian country, but they consider them carriers of knowledge, tradition, and wisdom. So I believe they're even more than say, like China or Japan. There might be, I would say there might even be more value as far as like employment goes. They don't mention that here specifically. But I feel like just by the very nature that there's, because I don't, no offense to anyone here, but like when I hear like, in comparison to some of these different countries. So if you say we're talking Japan and China, and Korea and Singapore, they all have these laws and requirements, but a lot of that seems like
I wonder how necessary it really is.
Well, I don't know if the laws are necessary, but a lot of it seems to me like, do you like you're just doing it because you're supposed to almost, but like how much do you actually have, like how much sort of respect and admiration and listen, I'm not saying that I'm respecting and admiring old people to the highest level, but I'm saying is it more just because it's like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to take care of my parents, come live with me, here's some food, and go to your room and shut up.
Right.
I don't know. That's just, but I just found it interesting that I found in a lot of places that Vietnam was sort of lauded for having that respect. I found that interesting. Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm good. You're hitting all the nails on the head right there. I'm wondering if it's all right if we switch gears and talk a little bit about a different type of family structure that most people in the Western world are not accustomed to, which is polygamy.
Yeah. What are some cultures that? Because I know obviously there are cultures that it's more of an accepted practice. Mm-hmm. Well, what is polygamy first?
Good call. So polygamy is basically where you can have more than one husband or wife. And I think usually, I could be wrong, but I think usually it tends to sway more on the side of multiple wives. But I could be wrong.
I don't think you are wrong.
But what's interesting is the majority, I'm looking here, and this is from Wikipedia, so take this with a grain of salt. But if you look at the world map,
Mama hoo-hoo.
The majority of polygamy that is completely legal with no problem is in Africa and the Middle East. And a lot of these places are Muslim countries. And then
my only problem with that, I mean, not my only problem, my main problem with that, and the reason why I was so confident in saying that it's mostly men, is because I think it's very heavily based in objectifying women. And it's just like, I can have multiple of you, but there can only be one of me, because how dare you not stay with me, but I can have multiples, and it's just a control thing, based in women being. Well, you look like you're about to say. I feel like I should stop because
I have a huge smile on my face. Well, let me just. The reason why I'm smiling, Jared, is I want to play devil's advocate with you for a minute. I think the things you're saying are definitely true. Or at least I would agree with your opinions. Let me not throw out what's true or false here, but I agree with your opinions. However, I taught some students from Saudi Arabia a few years ago, and I made them all do presentations about their region where they were from in Saudi Arabia. And one of my students came from, I forget the name of the region now. I wish I knew it. But he came from like the region that's kind of stereotypically known in Saudi Arabia for having the most or the highest population of polygamy. And what he explained to me is the main reason why, at least where he's from, they celebrate polygamy has not necessarily to do with objectification or control or power, but it has to do with raising a family. As in, if I'm married to you, you cannot bear me any children. Instead of me divorcing you, I can marry someone else and have children. Now, the problem with this, and this is where I'm going to segue into saying what you were saying, is the fact that if the female is infertile, the man can marry another, but it doesn't work the other way around. So that is definitely an issue, and I would agree with you 100% on that.
I do like the idea of, and I think this sort of, at least what I've heard, kind of fits more in with how humans evolved. Is that, I mean, not obviously, but I think humans did evolve to have, I don't know if it wasn't like one male having sex with just a bunch of women, but it was like more of a open, like people like having kids with everyone. And what it caused was this giant community. And so everyone took care of everyone, and it sort of instilled family into everyone, because it's like we're all family and we're all part of the same community. Now, obviously, it might get a little hairy, once you start, breeding wise down the road. But
right.
But in theory, I like that theory a lot, and that sort of prehistoric version of it doesn't. I don't think that was based in. At least I don't think it was based in as much of that same sort of patriarchal society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Can I spit a couple more facts at you about polygamy?
Spit them.
All right. So polygamy is legal in 58 out of nearly 200 sovereign states or nations. And as we mentioned, the vast majority are Muslim majority countries in Africa and Asia. What's interesting is there are some countries, I believe that's India, I think on the map, where polygamy is legal for Muslims. However, it is illegal for non-Muslims.
Interesting.
Which, yes, I also found that interesting. Also,
it
fun
makes
fact,
sense to me though, because there are. It's the two main religions, I believe, are Hinduism and Islam. And I guess that doesn't make sense. Why don't you just let everyone do it then?
Yeah. What's interesting though about the United States is polygamy is actually not federally illegal. It is illegal in all 50 states by state law.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. So isn't that really interesting? In some places though, it's actually only a misdemeanor. Other places it's a felony.
I don't understand how that works though, because if you're marrying these people, how do you marry more than one person?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Because once you marry the one person, isn't your name in the computer as being married to that person?
Well, based on our system, I mean, the women take the last name of the man. So in theory, a man could marry multiple women, and they would just all have the same last name, wouldn't they?
But if they want to do that, why don't they just not get married? Who's stopping them from them from living together?
Because if you're married, you have
all the tax things.
The tax things. I
So
think
you
it's
have,
also the thing with marriage in the
six
United
dependents.
States. Well, right. Well, the thing with marriage in the United States is it's not only recognized by the state, but it's usually also recognized by a church. Right.
Right.
So I think the church institution is probably a reason why. And I mean, the only type of polygamy that I know of in the United States is the Mormons. And they practice polygamy, or practiced. I don't know if they still do. But, and it's kind of the same thing where for them it's a religious thing. And there actually was a show on television about this family where I think this man had 2 or 3 wives. And it seemed like they all took care of each other and helped each other out and was kind of like a little community. But I cannot imagine being married to 2 or 3. I mean, I think it would.
No.
I don't know how you would be able to balance it. How it would work. To me, it just doesn't seem feasible.
No, it's a difficult situation emotionally for everyone. But I think the polygamy thing, that must be specifically a religious thing. Because if it's not religious, then it would just be like polyamory. And then the rules would just be decided upon by the people.
Right.
And then ideally, the woman would have to say in what's happening as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And what's interesting is some countries, Israel is one of them, New Zealand, Australia, where the marriages cannot be performed in those countries. But if you're already in a polygamous relationship, they will actually recognize it, which I think is in a way kind of cool because it's, I mean, on the one hand, who are we to tell them, if they can have 1 wife or 3 wives or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
But it's interesting nonetheless, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do the polygamy thing either. Well, I know I couldn't. Maybe I could do the polyamorous one. Maybe. But
I think that's difficult though. People tend to get jealous.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
I think you have to have like a full type of trust that not a lot of people have in a lot of relationships.
Yeah. It takes good communication, which maybe I couldn't do it because I'm not a good communicator. So never mind.
Anything else you want to add today about family relationships in different countries, Jared?
Well, can I say this? I thought this episode was going to be about elderly people because that's what you said it was going to be about. But then you turned it into being about family relationships.
My bad.
And so that's why I kept talking about elderly people. And I'm like,
you're good. It's a part of family.
Yeah, that's true. Taking care of the Oh, that's what you said.
Yep.
Taking care of elderly
See?
people.
And I was thinking of it in terms of a family sense, and yeah, who knows? Who knows?
That's okay. I still enjoyed all of this. It makes me kind of bum me out, but other than that, it was
right. Absolutely. Well, we hope you all.
Is that why you? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of relationships, is that why you chose the song of the pod?
Actually, no, not at all.
Well, the song of the pod is by Rodrigo y Gabriela. And they used to be in a relationship, but they're no longer anymore. But apparently they're good friends.
Oh, they did?
Still.
I didn't even realize that.
It seemed like it ended amicably. That's what it said on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And they claim that they're all good. But yeah, they dated a while back.
That's gotta be difficult. I can't imagine that. Yeah, so it's called Tamakun.
No, let's get back to that real quick.
Okay.
It does have to be. I wanted to bring this up too. That's why I wrote it down.
Okay.
That does have to be difficult, but it happens all the time, doesn't it? How many bands?
The White Stripes, right?
Well, there we just named 2.
Right.
Are like where, and it almost seems unavoidable. Like how could you not?
I mean, I remember when we were in college, and there was a music group called Euphonics.
Yeah, they all hooked up with each other. All the time.
And it was right.
Yeah, that's very true. But I think there's also just something. Yeah. Oh, never mind. I need to get to other groups that hooked up all the time. But yeah. I don't know. Like, how could you not? So when I first saw the picture of them, I was like, I wonder if these 2 people like are dating, and then I saw they were, and I was like, yeah, of course they were. We have, speaking of euphonics, we have two friends that were in euphonics that date, and they live together. And I always wonder. I was like, man, I wonder what it's like to be in a band with your significant other. That seems dangerous. Actually, I think they're married.
There's a couple. There's a couple of them that are. I won't say any names, but there's at least two couples I know of that are married from that musical group.
No, but the one I'm thinking of, they're still doing music together.
Oh yeah. I was thinking about them, and then anyways, doesn't really matter. So it's not as uncommon, I guess, as I thought it was. But yeah. So Tamakun by Rodrigo y Gabriela is a really amazing song. They both play nylon string guitars. They were heavily influenced
that's what
by.
That sound is.
Yep, they were heavily influenced by metal music, but obviously you can tell that there's kind of a flamenco flair to it as well.
Is that what that is? Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you what that genre was.
Yeah, flamenco with the strumming pattern and the like the hits. It's very flamenco, and the
is that like that very the Mexican sort of?
I think it's more Spanish.
Okay,
I believe, but I'm sure in parts of Mexico they played as well.
They're from Mexico. That's the reason I asked.
Right, which is a safe guess. And what's cool is if you actually watch the song live. If you watch, Gabriela is the one who's doing all this cool strummy stuff, right? And if you watch her hand, it's really quite a sight just to watch her play the rhythm guitar parts. It's really amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure as a guitar nerd, you stare extra hard at their hands.
Oh, I do. Always.
Have you known about these people for a while?
I've actually known about them since... Oh, when did they come out? I think I might have been a senior in high school. They were actually one of the first instrumental groups I had ever seen on MTV. This was back when... Do they even play music on MTV anymore?
No, I think it's just trash TV. Trashy teenagers.
But I remember I used to watch it before school every morning, and they came on, and it blew my mind away.
Interesting. MTV. I didn't realize they were they got the MTV bump back in the day. Yep. I did notice they've been around since about 2000.
Right.
So what I love about the Song of the Pod, and I'm sure you could agree, is that I'm constantly it's constantly interesting to me to find out what kind of music you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And like what gets you. Because this, even though it's guitars, that's just because you don't like everything that's with the guitar.
Almost, I think it's a fairly safe bet, to be honest.
But I always like to find out what you're interested in. And be like, oh, that's interesting.
Right. I never know when you send me something what it's going to be.
What you're about to listen to.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so it's a great song. Check out Tamakun by. Rodrigo y Gabriela. It's a beautiful song. And if you're into guitar, I'm sure you'll love it. And yeah, it's a great song to listen to if you need to liven up your mood a little bit up tempo, and it's a fantastic song. So we hope you all enjoy it. Check out our Twitter, Untranslatable1, and it will be up there for you guys when this episode drops. So Jared, it's come to that time where I need to flex on my Czech learning a little bit.
Yes.
And this is a word today. Usually I try to have a phrase, but today I figured it would be more fitting to have a word. And actually, I'm going to give you two words since I wasn't clear enough in my communication with you about the scope of our episode today. So the first word is rodina. Do you have any idea what that word means, Jared? Rodina.
Senior citizen?
Not quite.
Oh, wait. It's probably like a couple, wife, husband.
Family. Rodina.
Family. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the other word I have for you is starshi.
Starshi. Love.
Nope.
Oh, I was so confident for some reason. Yes.
Starshi is elderly.
Oh, I just got them.
There you go. Yeah, you just had them flipped.
Said it at the wrong time.
Exactly.
Okay. Starchi. But they don't say it like babushka, do they?
I mean, what's funny is, once again, I'm never 100% sure when Czech people tell me something if it's safe to say it's a blanket statement or not, if it's a generalization. But I was told by a Czech friend of mine that you can use the word babička, which means grandma. Not
Okay.
babushka, but babička.
That's the Czech version of grandma.
Yes, to almost any older woman, and it's not offensive. Now, I don't know. So to our listeners out there who go to the Czech Republic, don't just start calling random old ladies babička. That maybe it'll work well for you. I don't really know. But, yeah.
But, I mean, David said that it's totally normal in Russia.
Right.
So I could imagine that that it wouldn't be uncommon in other countries. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like it's not just like some people in one. Like, if it's happening in more than one place, I think you're safer.
Right.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think you'd be okay. What do you think? What you think? Of just some punks?
I'll ask around.
You think just some Czech punks told you that just go around like
you never
knocking
know.
purses out of Babishka's hands?
You never know. My buddy David confessed to me that some of his students try to teach him the wrong things, just kind of to be funny.
Mess with them?
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. You never know.
See, I could imagine I can imagine middle school me and my classmates doing something like that.
Right. Oh, for sure.
We did do something one time. I mean, this is when I lived in Germany, where we all switched names and we had a substitute teacher.
Oh, nice.
But like, this was an international school.
Right. Right.
So it was so obvious. My name was Dai Kojima.
You look that looks just like you, Jared. Oh, that's great. That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, people like to mess with each other, including people in your family. You know, I think that's the beauty of family. And only mess with the elderly if it's in good fun and will not actually hurt them or really mess with them too bad. That's for sure. Well, Jared,
only if they're in on it.
Exactly. Well, Jared, it's come to that time for us to give a quote to our listeners to end our pod today. And I have a quote from an author, M. Grundler. And the quote is, "The best inheritance a parent can give to his children is a few minutes of their time each day." And hopefully more than a few minutes, but let alone a few minutes.
I need to get better at that. I constantly live life guilty at not talking to my elders enough, and yet I still don't do it.
There you go. Late New Year's resolution for you, buddy.
Maybe this quote will be the motivation I needed.
It'll inspire you to
spread a little love.
Ooh, that's right. That's right. And if any of our listeners out there want to spread a little love with us, you can find us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Slide into our DMs on Twitter, Untranslatable1. And also shoot us an email. Give Jared some secret untranslatables. Now I'm going to check the email, and you'll have no idea if I know the untranslatables. But send them to us at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, hear about your experiences abroad, and any exciting untranslatables or words you have. To any of our Czech listeners out there, also please get in contact with me, because eventually I am going to run out of Czech untranslatables. I don't know what number episode this will be, but I still got, I think, 5 or 6 more months here. So we got some time. So we would really appreciate it. And we thank you all so much for your support. We hope you had a very happy, healthy, and safe New Year, and hope 2019 is turning out to be a great year for you and you can really enjoy it. So we thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you next time. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, děkujeme.